my Super Bowl pick going into this year is Kansas City and Detroit, and I feel very confident in that pick based on what I've seen so far. And I know obviously I haven't seen everybody in the league or anything like that, but like the Chiefs are the best team I've seen. Like fandom and all that crap aside, like just being like the Chiefs have so many guys on the team that can play, it's almost comical.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
It's That Football Show here on KC Sports Network, presented by our friends at Holiday Distillery and Ben Holiday Bottled in Bond Bourbon. I'm Tucker Franklin, joined as always by Matt Verderame. Matt, how are you doing?
I'm in Westfield, Indiana. So, you know.
Things have been better.
How are you doing?
I just got back from St. Joe. But good. Hey, as we're recording this podcast, only one more practice left for the Kansas City Chiefs up in St. Joe. So I'm glad that I won't have to be driving back and forth to St. Joe. I've made my stance on St. Joe pretty clear, I think, on numerous podcasts. Look, I went to the rival University of Missouri Western, right? I'm Northwest Missouri State. I don't like that campus to begin with. Having to go there for 19 days, not my favorite thing to do. But nevertheless, we prevail. As Matt, you are still on your training camp tour. This is part 2. This is leg 2. Right? And this is your second leg tour?
2. Yes, leg 2, day 3 of the siege.
Oh.
After we do this, we're recording on a Wednesday afternoon. I will be in Westfield watching the Colts and the Cardinals have a joint practice. And may get the opportunity to ask Jonathan Cannon about momentum, which is truly a gift. And then Thursday, I finish up the tour with the Bears and the Bengals having a joint practice. Second time I'll see the Bengals in 3 days. And I'm assuming I won't see Jamar Chase in either of those.
Good.
Yeah, so that's and then I'm gonna go home, and my whole family is up at the lake house in Wisconsin, so I will be home to my own devices on Thursday. Let me tell you something. I'm gonna pour myself the biggest bourbon you've ever seen, and I am gonna fire up the Virginia Cavaliers in college football 25, and we are gonna get saucy in that game. There may be some play calls we never see again, but it's gonna happen.
Love to see it. And gotta pull yourself a big old bottle of Ben Holiday bottled in bourbon. The good stuff. Gotta, after a long day, especially, going up to camp, doing podcast stuff like that, I do love a little nightcap with some Ben Holiday on the rocks that's how I like it.
So when camp ends for the Chiefs, which is Thursday, Military Appreciation Day.
Shout out. Yeah.
When that ends, are you going to be like Andy Dufresne in Shawshank when he escapes and just looks to the heavens?
Yes, it will.
This is the last time I'll see St. Joe's till next, whenever the hell, mid-July next year.
Yeah, it will be. The skies will open up, and it'll pour. It's been raining the past couple of days, so it hasn't been like too wildly hot in St. Joe, which I'm sure the guys appreciate that, because a lot of players, if you see the former players on Twitter, if you just talk to former players that we've had the privilege to talk to, they say this week is the worst week in training camp, Chiefs training camp history. It's the week after the first preseason game where they have to go back for another week of practice. And it is absolutely brutal. I cannot imagine what it's like to finally, it's like tasting freedom for a little bit. It's tasting the normalcy and then having it yanked away from you.
I saw Mahomes interviewed by Alex Smith.
Yeah.
And he was like, this is the worst week. We were done. And now we're back. And it's just, I love, Andy, is just like Bill's character. Like, I don't know that it does. It's a deep emotional trauma at this point. But yeah, they finish up Thursday. And if the cops were to set up a speed trap on the way from St. Joe to Kansas City, they might be clocking people breaking the sound barrier. Mm-hmm. So, that'll be good. But yeah, they got one more practice, which is always a light practice, that last one. And then they got the day off Friday and the game Saturday against Detroit.
It's true. At home, Arrowhead against Detroit. We'll get to that game here in a second, but let's go back to the one against Jacksonville where Hollywood Brown does suffer that injury. I think that's kind of like the biggest takeaway from that game, right? It wasn't a fun game. Like after the starters went out, Matt, I don't know about you, I was just like, all right, I don't care anymore. My main focus was like, is Hollywood Brown okay? Turns out He's not. I mean, he had a very uncomfortable, very painful, I would imagine, just hearing about what the sternoclavicular separation dislocation was. Doesn't sound like it's a very pleasant injury, but it sounds like Hollywood Brown is going to miss that first game of the season.
Yeah, I mean, probably. It's like a 4-week injury. I know Jordan Schultz had 4 to 6, but it seems like the same timeline as Tyreek Hill, which was, about a month.
Yeah, it was
about a month. Yeah. Plus, if you're the Chiefs, if he misses that first game, you have 10 more days before the Bengals game.
Yeah.
And I'm not by any means overlooking the Ravens, who are obviously a very good team. The Chiefs should be able to win that game with Hollywood Brown.
The Ravens got some stuff going on right now, too, with, I don't know if you saw that, Mark Andrews was involved in a car wreck. The offensive line coach has got hospitalized today.
They'll let their slot corners out for that game. He had arthroscopic surgery on his knee.
Yeah.
They're missing 900 guys from a year ago. Yeah, I mean, look, if the Chiefs lose to the Ravens, I don't want to hear they didn't have Hollywood Brown. Well, the Ravens don't have 30 guys.
Correct.
So, listen, I think honestly, is it ideal? I mean, of course not. You want all your guys. At the same point, do I think it's some oh my God tragedy type situation for this team? No, not really. I mean, they're fortunate. He could have broke his clavicle and been out two and a half months.
Absolutely.
He's not. And if I were the Chiefs, quite frankly, I probably wouldn't play with the Baltimore game. I'd give him an extra 10 days and play him against Cincinnati. And, that's at least at this point. Of course, we're going to see how rehab goes, but if it goes as expected, that's probably what I would try to do.
I haven't seen Hollywood at practice. He hasn't been out on the side, so I assume he's just obviously doing that stuff away from everybody. Going back to the Ravens, their biggest free agent acquisition was a 30-year-old running back. So granted that is Derrick Henry, but I like to frame it as a 30-year-old running back because it makes it sound worse than it being Derrick Henry. It's going to be a game where the defense is going to be mightily important. We've talked a couple times about the depth on this defensive team. For the Chiefs, it doesn't have the depth that they had last year. I think that kind of showed in the second preseason game of you're seeing Felix Anudike-Uzomah, a guy you drafted first overall a year ago, getting a lot of snaps deep into a game. That's just because they don't have a lot of guys there. They had a lot of snaps in that game they had to give to somebody. And when you start to look on the defensive side of the ball, and that front seven specifically, had a lot of depth there, Matt.
Yeah, I mean it's true. Look, I ran after the Chiefs. All you want to do is get through this preseason. You just feel like you didn't get any more injuries. Wednesday they had Jawan Taylor leave practice with a shoulder injury, although Schefter was saying that somebody told him that it's not significant. If I'm the Chiefs, I would absolutely play my starters for a quarter against Detroit. And I'd probably play them midway through the second quarter against Chicago, and then that's it. I'm done. What do they have to prove?
Right.
Realistic. And let's also be real with this team. Andy Reid doesn't know who's making the 53 at this point. I mean, it's not I guarantee you Brett Veach isn't sitting there sweating it, telling his kids you can't go out and play catch because he's got to figure out who the 8th receiver is on the depth chart. They know who they're going to keep. Now obviously, look, there's always the injury factor, and there's always, some guy might get cut that they don't expect to get cut somewhere else, and they say, okay, fine, but then you just upgrade over whoever the hell's last on the depth chart. It's not like the Chiefs are going to be sitting there, the Monday before cutdown day, going, oh my God, we only know 20 guys we're going to be on this team. They know.
It is going to be really interesting with game 2 as well. You mentioned Andy Reid does like to do the old song and dance of the starters will play a half. They're not going to. If you go back here, I know people sometimes, at least when I say this on Twitter, people are like, well, how do you don't believe what Andy Reid has said? That's because historically he's never told the truth. Yeah, because
that's why. Man is a stone cold liar when it comes to how often they're going to play.
He has never told the truth, I think, in terms of the preseason. Ever since I've been covering this team, he's said the same thing, and the result has been the same. I quote tweeted one of the presser clips of him saying starters will play a quarter, twos will play the second quarter, so on and so on. And I said, okay, starters playing a drive, got it. And people were like, "What? He said they're going to play a quarter." And I was like, "You guys are going to learn today because this is what he means. This is what he means. They're going to play a drive." That's what happened. And I thought the offense did look pretty good. I mean, it does suck that obviously Hollywood Brown gets injured on the first play, and it does suck that the drive ended with a Rashee Rice drop on a ball that, was a tough catch, but was also catchable.
50-50,
yeah. That, I wish it would have ended in a touchdown. I probably would have felt a little bit better going into it, but like at this point, as you mentioned, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. These games doesn't matter. So like what you want to see in game 2 is just like, I legitimately, the only thing I want to see them is not get another injury. Like that is literally it. All I care about these teams.
Okay, so last year they played the Cardinals in the second game of the preseason.
Right. Yep.
You remember how many games, or would you like to take a guess how many plays the starters were in the second quarter for the offense?
Ooh, for the second quarter, how many?
Second quarter of the second preseason
game. None.
Yeah, the answer is 0.
Yeah.
So they went 3 and out, and then they had a 5-play drive that went for 14 yards, and then they went 92 yards on 10 plays, and that was in the first quarter. And Andy was like, "I'm good." That was it. From what I can gather, it's a little harder to tell with this, but I believe the defense played 3 drives as well. They gave up 8 yards, 31 yards, 19 yards, all punts, and that was it. So, they played 3 drives. Like, both sides of the ball played 3 drives, which typically speaking is about a quarter, maybe a little bit over. Usually you get about 12 drives in a game. Like, that's what they did. So, to expect all of a sudden that they're going to start now magically playing a lot more, they're not going to do that. And then, for the record, Vrabel even wonders. So, in the third game, they played Cleveland in a 33-32 Chiefs win. And the starters played 0 snaps the whole game.
Good.
That's a game that some may remember. The Chiefs got down 22-3 in the first quarter and then won the game. But I mean, it doesn't matter. There's nobody in that building going, geez, I don't know who the quarterback's going to be. Got to get him more snaps. It's like, so you're right, man. Like, the bottom line, you don't want to get injuries. They've been fortunate at this point. I know you could say that because Hollywood Brown. Yeah, but it's not like, look, it's not ideal that he's out for a month, but he's not out for like an actual, like a real month. He's out for one game.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, it's not. The big thing right now is you don't want to have J.J. McCarthy happen, where you're out for a year. Okay. Or like some guy who's out for the first 10 weeks. He's like, all the Chiefs care about is that they're healthy when they need to be healthy. Right. That's it. And like the rest of this, like Joe Tooney now is back at practice. Looks like he's good to go. Justin Reed's been back at practice. Nick Bolt's back at practice. I don't want to speculate on anybody's injury because I don't know 1,000%. But I'm going to go ahead and guess Chris Jones is fine and just doesn't really feel like practicing very much right now.
What it looks like. So at practice today, when I was out there, he was off to the side. You know how those guys will go off to the side and do some of their practicing, and he was in his stance, and he was hitting all the bags and doing like the hand swipe motions and everything, and it looked like he was okay.
These guys understand. They're like, hey man, how many days do we have left here? Okay.
Man,
it'll hurt a little bit, Andy. You need one more day. But like most of these guys, I mean, Reed, Watson, Bolton, Tony, Tooney, they're all back. Like, and as long as Jawan Taylor is good to go for the season, he just got to miss the next couple of weeks, whatever. Like, as long as he's if your worst case scenario is like a Mena who's on pup to start the year, you expect it anyway. Mm-hmm. And Hollywood Brown's got to miss the opener. Fine. Like, that's great. I mean, it's not great for Hollywood Brown. Like, it's great overall. Like, if you're the Chiefs, you would sign for that in a heartbeat going into camp. That's like the situation. But they got 2 more games to get through.
They do. They have 2 more games to get through. One of the things, in all seriousness, I do want to see is Carson Steele get run behind the one offensive line, because that offensive line, those 2 offensive linemen for the Chiefs, como se dice, not good. They are. It was a little tough for those guys. And look, Carson Steele made it happen with an offensive line that wasn't necessarily the strongest. And Carson Steele's been getting a lot of run with the first team offensive line. Granted, that's because Clyde Brzler has not been practicing. He's been out with the illness. He opened up about PTSD earlier in camp. I think it's related to that. Don't know for sure, but they are saying he's illness. That's what they have him listed as. So I do want to see kind of how they use him a little bit more. If they do give him maybe not necessarily starters treatment, but if they pull him early, I think that's something to be considerate of. Of like, okay, like we're going to pull this guy close to when these starters come out because we kind of need him healthy for the year because of the other running back situation that we've got going on. That could be something to keep an eye on too. Generic Prince is another one of those guys to see where that line is, right? Where's the line of where they pull these guys out and where they keep them in?
Yeah, I think again, look, some of these guys are Generic Prince. He might get a ton of action. They might look at him and go, "Hey man, you're getting 15 carries. We need to see you in this game."
Yep.
Like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, this is what now, year 5?
Mm-hmm.
I kind of know what Clyde Edwards-Helaire is, for better or worse. Like, I think you kind of know who he is. Like, I don't think he's going to play a ton. Like, I don't think he's going to get a ton of. I think it's probably a lot of Steele and a lot of Prince, and it's going to be like, all right, let's see what you guys have. Yep. Like, if I'm the Chiefs, I'm giving both of them 10+ carries. I want to see what they look like, and yes, with a line that is like you, me, and 3 tackling dummies. Okay, but like, I still want to see. And by the way, I might even try to rotate those guys in with the first team.
Yeah.
Just to get them behind that actual first team offensive line. Like, I want to see what it looks like. But I think those two specifically, I think are going to play a lot of snaps, and they should play a lot of snaps. And then I expect at receiver, you're going to see a lot of Remigio, and a lot of Ross, a lot of Sky Moore. Like, I mean, if you're the Chiefs, again, I think they pretty much know they're keeping at this point anyway.
Yeah.
But, you give one of them an opportunity to make a case where you're like, hey, all right, you know what? Put him out there. The guy went nuts. I think for Andy and the staff, that's probably what you're, trying to get accomplished.
We'll see. Well, that, as you mentioned, that next game coming up on Saturday against the Detroit Lions and Arrowhead. Chiefs having 2 home preseason games this year out of the 3 preseason games that they do get. The last one is on a Thursday night. We got some Thursday night football action going down at Arrowhead against the Chicago Bears. Doubt Caleb Williams will play in that game. Would be cool. Would like to see him. He has been. Look, Matt, this next section will be the section we get to talk about because I think I kind of want to talk about Caleb Williams a little bit. I've been watching some Hard Knocks. I might be sold. Like I might be in on Caleb Williams.
Well, I saw him at OTAs. I asked the Bears if I'd come down and watch him. They're like, yeah, it's fine. That's the old friend Ted Cruz from the Chiefs.
Good.
Always a good time.
Yes.
Caleb Williams made some throws in that practice. You were like, okay, That's something that like 5 guys in the world can do. There were some other throws. He basically hit a pine tree, but like he made some throws. You're like, oh, okay. No, I'm absolutely sold on him. And I think, the Bears have done a nice job of giving him weapons. You go out and get Keenan Allen. You draft Rome Odunze. You have room. You have Cole Kmet. I mean, listen, like the big question with the Bears is can they block anybody?
Yeah.
That is the big overriding question. They can block somebody, they're going to be a problem. They're going to score some points. I think he's going to be terrific. I'm looking forward on Thursday. Tomorrow, I'll go see him and the Bears with their joint practice with Cincinnati. I think he's going to be terrific. I really do. I think he's going to be like, I don't know that it's fair to be, is he going to be C.J. Stroud this year? C.J. Stroud was unbelievable last season. But do I think like he's going to be good enough that like they can make the playoffs? Yeah, I do. I think he's a real legitimate talent. I think he's above average right away.
Yeah, I think so too. We're going to talk about what's going on in the league because there's injuries, there's contract extensions, there's a ton of stuff going around the league. That's what we do on this podcast. Talk about the Chiefs, then we talk about the league. Got to take a break first. We'll be back right after this.
We appreciate you supporting KC Sports Network by listening to our podcast. You have helped us become the highest-ranked Chiefs podcast network in 2022 and 2023. And don't forget about our daily Substack newsletter, the best written analysis you can find on the Chiefs straight to your inbox every day. kcsn.substack.com.
You know when you discover a new binge-worthy show or a song that you bump on repeat and you have to share it with your friends so they can experience just how awesome it is? That's kind of what it feels like when you discover Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. That's such an awesome deal. There's no way you can keep it to yourself. Friends don't let friends overpay for wireless. Say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plan and switch to Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you and your squad with premium wireless plans starting at $15 a month. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all of your existing contacts. Ditch overpriced wireless with Mint Mobile's deal and get 3 months of premium wireless service for $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/KCSNTFS. That's mintmobile.com/KCSNTFS. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/KCSNTFS. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. Speaking of Mint Mobile, I've got a text here that we got from the Mint Mobile hotline asking us a question, specifically asking you, Matt, a question. He said, on that football show, I'd be interested in hearing more from Matty V about other training camps and how they compare to Andy's. Plus, even though it won't happen, can he imagine what it would be like for the Chiefs doing a joint practice? So I think that's a really good question. As you're on your training camp tour, we've been talking about a lot of training camps. How does Andy Reid's training camp differ from the other ones you've seen?
Seen 5. Seeing another one tonight. So I am here in beautiful, luxurious Westfield, Indiana.
Tourist destination.
Huge, yes. And then I am headed to Lake Forest, Illinois for the last one. But what I would tell you is, I think, and I say this all the time, it's true. The biggest difference is just the speed at which the Chiefs practice.
Yeah.
I was in Cincinnati on Tuesday, and this is no shade at all at the Bengals, just the way it was. That practice was from 2 to 4. They didn't even get into any kind of meaningful reps until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, stretching, it was some individual stuff, it was a lot of special team stuff, very little, contact. I mean, and that's how a lot of teams are. Yeah. And the Chiefs, I mean, they come down the hill going to 11 on 11. Like, they're just ready to go. And even when they're in individual drills, they're full speed. They're game.
Oh my gosh, yes.
That is not the case for most teams. Most teams do not do that. I mean, every team has some team periods, but Minnesota, not very many team periods. Cincinnati, I think there were 2 of them. And then they were brief. I mean, Burrow, there's no way Burrow had more than a dozen snaps in team drills. It just, this wasn't the case.
Yeah.
The Chiefs just really utilized their time. I firmly believe there's a reason they don't get hurt a lot during the season, because that camp, they're ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
I also think it's why they start hot a lot, because they come out of camp and they're ready to go. And then you get some of these teams are like easing into it. Like you get into a really hot bathtub, like they're just kind of poking their foot in there. And the Chiefs are just like, been in for an hour. Here it comes. Like, I just think it's different. It's a very different experience. So I would say that. I'd also tell you, if you're just looking for a little like nuanced part of it, the Chiefs practice really early in the day. Most teams practice in the afternoon. A lot of teams are practicing, 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock. Chiefs are at 8:15. A lot of it's just heat. But no, I think, look, I've seen the Chiefs, the Lions, the Vikings, the Packers, the Bengals, and then I'll see the Colts Cardinals tonight in Indiana, and I'll see the Bears Bengals tomorrow. Of the teams I have seen, my Super Bowl pick going into this year is Kansas City and Detroit, and I feel very confident in that pick based on what I've seen so far. And I know obviously I haven't seen everybody in the league or anything like that, but the Chiefs are the best team I've seen. Fandom and all that crap aside, the Chiefs have so many guys on the team that can play, it's almost comical. They were missing 5 defensive starters today I was at camp, and they were still just destroying an offense led by Patrick Mahomes. It didn't even matter that half the starters weren't there. Detroit's the next best team I've seen. They've got a lot of stars, probably as many as the Chiefs, but the big difference is, look, Goff's a very good quarterback, but he's not Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would say that the middle class of the roster is where I think the Chiefs separate themselves. I watched the Lions, and I made a note of the Lions have a ton of top end talent. But if there are injuries, there are major questions all over the place with depth. With the Chiefs, not to say you could have the wrong injury, but the Chiefs just have so many guys where it's like, okay, well, you know what? If, we're in 2 linebacker sets and Bolton goes out, well, we have Leo Chenal who can just play more snaps and Tranquil can slide over. And we have 4 safeties and 5 corners. And any of these guys could play 60% of snaps and it's fine. Like, that's where I think they separate, where they just have so many options who can do, and their coaching staff. So, yeah, I guess that would be kind of the overarching answer.
No, I like it, especially when you talk about the pace of practice for the Chiefs. And, I mentioned I've been watching Hard Knocks. You don't really get the full practice experience, right, from Hard Knocks. It's all chopped up. But you can kind of get the vibe of a practice, right? And from the Chiefs' practice standpoint, 9:05, that first horn goes. They sound that first air horn at 9:05. That is 10 minutes before practice officially starts, I should say, in air quotes. The listed time of practice starting. That's when they do all the pre-practice stuff. And then for 10 minutes, they're doing they're stretching. Once they hit 9:15, they go to stretching, and that's when you see all the punt returns and stuff like that. But then the individual drills, I'm glad that you brought that up. The individual drills are so fast-paced. Like, it is rep, next drill, rep. And there's a couple of clips I have on my phone. I've tweeted out from the KC Sports Network Twitter account, too, especially the D ends and, like, the defensive linemen. Joe Cullen has those guys like, we are going as fast as you can for as long as you can during these individual drills. It really is impressive. They're very efficient with how they install plays on both the offensive and defensive side of the ball. Their install periods are still fast-paced, even though they're on air, which you can kind of slide into maybe some monotony there, but they're on air. They're still moving really fast. Right. They're getting, which I think you made this point about Joe Burrow as well, maybe him not getting a ton of reps. They're getting a lot of reps for every single group. Every single group is getting a whole lot of reps. I believe Matt Eberflus on Hard Knocks said that they're doing like 213 reps is what they're doing at their practice. And like, if they're doing 213, I wonder how many the Chiefs are getting in. Because like overall reps, it seems like that they've got to be getting close to 300, maybe north of that.
It's so evident when you watch them compared to the teams.
Very purposeful. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they are just flying for reps. And they also do that long drill at the end of the practice. Like most teams at the end of the practice, it's like a little team period and then a little special teams where everybody kind of hang out. And he's like, we're going 900 yards. That's what's happening.
Down and back.
Yeah. It's like, oh my God, man. But again, like, I think the key to it is that guys like Mahomes and Kelsey, they embrace it. They may not like it, but they embrace it.
Yeah.
And if those guys embrace it, like, what are you going to say? Like, what can anybody say about it? Like, and there's a reason they're so prepared. I mean, a lot of time you watch them. And I thought, to be fair, I thought the Lions had a pretty intense practice. I thought, they weren't as fast, but they had a lot of team period stuff, and they there was a lot of competition. I just think that stuff matters. I know we're in this day and age now where a lot of these coaches are like, we're not going to play to the ground, and we're not going to, listen, 3 preseason games, you're not going to see our starters. And it's like, you're not going to see the starters. Well, what the fuck are you playing the game for? I mean, yeah, I understand not playing the whole game, obviously, but you're not like in Miami, it's like, well, they may not play Tua. Tua doesn't need to work. Tua's Joe Montana now, like he's good. I mean, I don't understand. There was another team, I'm trying to think who it was, they were like, yeah, we don't need to play our guys. And I was like, are you kidding me?
They did in Carolina with Bryce Young.
That's what it was. I was like, are you kidding me? Yeah. He's all set. Like, he doesn't need the reps. That's like if you bought a video game and cranked it up to like legend status. Yeah. And somebody was like, hey man, listen, like, you want to play 3 exhibition games? Like, nah, I'm good. Just get right in there. And then you were like shocked that you were 1-5 to start the year. Like, I'll never understand it. Why? Yeah. Like, if you're that horrified of a guy getting hurt, you're in the wrong line of work, man. It's a National Football League. Like, you're going to get hit sometimes. That's part of the sport. Like, you gotta run that risk. I just don't get it. I don't understand these teams that think like, we're going to put this guy in a bubble for a month. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to get into week 1 and like, oh, what a shock. He got hit. Now he's got bruised ribs. Yeah, he's got bruised ribs. He hasn't been touched for 9 months. Like, So I never understand that.
It is a very interesting thing when you talk about it. The Chiefs, you brought up the injury thing. The Chiefs have been fairly lucky when it comes to, I'm knocking on wood right now to say this, they've been fairly lucky in terms of injuries during their dynastic run that they've had. They haven't had any major injuries. Mahomes has gotten hurt a couple times, but it hasn't been season-shattering injuries, right? He's been able to be out there and play. And the weird injury to Kelsey in the first game of the season where he missed it, got hurt 48 hours before the first game was, that was weird. They've had weird injuries like that, right? But it's been, in terms of season enders, they haven't had a lot of those, truthfully. Knock on wood, obviously, as I'm saying this. But, so there's naturally a regression towards the means when it comes to luck. And I think that, I don't think that you should expect injuries, but they might happen. That's all I'm saying. But they do a good job of preparing for them not to happen. Back to your point of saying them practicing and actually hitting each other, actually playing football. Who would think this, Matt? Who would think that playing football helps you be better at football? Apparently, other coaches don't think that.
Honest to God, it's like if you said in another sport, listen, we're not going to shoot a basketball for a month. We're just not going to do it. Because somebody might pull some kind of a muscle in the shooting motion. So we're fuck that. We're not going to do it.
Right.
And then you went into the season and you shot 28% from three for a month. And you're like, I just don't know what the problem is. It's it's that old, the meme from the, with the guy.
Andre show.
Yeah. And he's like, who could have done this? You're like, well, geez, I don't know. I mean, shocking. You didn't practice what you need to do for a month, and then all of a sudden, you played against a professional team that has been practicing for a month and lost. I just don't think it makes any sense. I mean, even Baltimore, Lamar Jackson didn't play in the first game.
Yep.
Lamar Jackson has missed time in this camp. They've been having guys in now. I got to be honest. I'm not saying I'm predicting this. I would not be totally shocked if the Chiefs kicked Baltimore's ass the first week of the year, because Baltimore is just they don't have a lot of the guys in there at times. Yeah. Now we'll see if they do that for the second game, third game. But they don't play their guys, and they're down a few players like Millette. They're also missing. They have a lot of turnover from a year ago. That's kind of the recipe for all of a sudden you're like, man, I don't know what happened. Well, yeah, I know what happened. Nobody played. You got a bunch of brand new guys in new roles. That's what happened. Now, look, do I think that's going to happen? No. Baltimore's a good team. I think they'll probably be there, and it'll be a tight game. But, if it happens that way, I bet you the way they both prepared for the year has a part in it.
I think so, too. Looking else around the league, as we mentioned, J.J. McCarthy is going through a full meniscus repair. It's not like a trim. It's a meniscus repair. So he is out for the 2024 season. Disappointing. He played fairly well, I thought, in the first preseason games. And Darnold, though, also played pretty well. So I think they'll say be okay in air quotes there. But you would obviously like to have, the rookie you drafted top 10 play in a game his first year. That's a tough one. Also, I just found out that Andy Dalton is the backup quarterback for the Panthers, and it kind of jarred me physically to see him still playing quarterback.
Is he 40 years old?
He's got to be up there, man. Let me click on his page here. 36.
That's it? Wow. I really thought he was pushing 40. Andy Dalton, what a career. Look, honestly, the McCarthy thing is really unfortunate because I saw him in camp. I thought he looked terrific. And look, now he's out for the whole year. So now if you're the Vikings, not only do you lose him for this year, but now next year is all about ramping him up and getting him his first start. It puts everything year back. And listen, I'm just going to go out and say this right now. I'm going to save everybody the time. We can clip this. We can make fun of me if I'm wrong, but I'm not worried about it because I'm not going to be wrong. Sam Darnold is terrible. You're absolutely getting the think pieces over the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Sam Darnold, 7th year in the league. He's flashed. And now under Kevin O'Connell, with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson, he's going to bloom. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, he ain't blooming. He's not good. I watched him in 7-on-7s at practice repeatedly hold the ball for 5-6 seconds before he threw the ball. Buddy, it's 7-on-7. Just fucking throw it.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? What world do you live in? You're going to have 5-6 seconds to throw a football. Have you seen Minnesota's interior offensive line? You're lucky if you have 0.5 seconds. Like, you have great tackles and no interior. You're going to have to get rid of the football. And yet, people are going to sit here and act like, well, now he's got an opportunity to be great. No, he doesn't. And honestly, I have nothing against the guy personally at all. Hopefully for him, I'm dead wrong. But if you look at him, in his career, his best year was 2019 with the Jets. He threw for 3,024 yards, completed 61.9% of his throws, and had 19 touchdown passes. Those are all career highs. Like, since that year, for the last 4 seasons, between the Jets, the Panthers, and the Niners, he has started 30 games. He is 10-20 in those games. He has completed 59.6% of his passes with 27 touchdowns and 28 interceptions, and he's throwing for 6.5 yards per attempt. I got to tell you, I think it's much more likely that he drags down the Vikings' entire offense than all of a sudden the entire offense elevates him. I just do not see that happen.
It's a very unfortunate situation that Minnesota finds themselves in. They've had a hell of a month, truthfully, when it comes to just everything that's happened to Minnesota. Very unfortunate there. They had a good looking team heading into this kind of this training camp, and now they're in a spot there they might be picking top 10 again. They could get another quarterback if they need to with this draft class, because I talked to Matt Miller about this on the Mizzou show. Mizzou That's Who. Quarterback class this year is kind of all over the place. You don't know what you're going to get from the quarterback class, and like it's because especially we were talking about obviously Luther Burden and kind of where he would kind of slot in there, and the stipulation is like, well, what's going to happen with the quarterbacks? You got to figure out who's going to rise there and everything like that. That is just very unfortunate for the Minnesota Vikings that does happen. Also, a couple wide receivers, CeeDee Lamb. I think that this whole spat with Jerry Jones happened after we recorded last, where he just says, like, we're not in any rush, and then CeeDee Lamb says LOL on Twitter. Objectively hilarious, by the way. Great response. And then now, all of a sudden, Jerry Jones is changing his tune, and CeeDee Lamb is probably going to get some Justin Jefferson money.
Oh, he's going to get paid big time.
He should. I mean, he's that offense, especially now. But yeah, he's got to get paid sooner rather than later. It seems like Micah Parsons does not think that he will be anywhere else besides Dallas come week 1.
I will be absolutely shocked. I will retire from the industry if the Cowboys do not have CeeDee Lamb in their roster week 1. I mean, not going anywhere. Not going to move him. And Jerry has not exactly been known to hold a hard line with star players. Okay? I don't see any world. Okay, the Dak thing, you could sit there and argue, like, look, they just don't think he's worth the money. They just flat out, they've seen enough, they want to go in a different direction. Okay, fine. What is the argument they have for not paying CeeDee Lamb?
Right, yeah.
Like that.
His numbers are insane.
I'd be shocked. I would be absolutely shocked if he's not paid $33+ million a year.
In today's NFL, having a receiver like that is pretty valuable. I'll go out on a pretty sturdy limb and say that he's pretty valuable to that team. But also, Brandon Aiyuk, that trade saga continues to be more than it needs to be. It sounds like that the Steelers, and Ricky was right all along, are the leaders in the clubhouse. They have agreed to a deal in principle. Is that what I'm hearing right, Matt? They've agreed to it, but haven't actually officially finalized it. It just seems like they're just dragging their feet at this point because the Niners think they're close with Brandon Aiyuk on a contract extension. I don't know.
My reaction to this entire saga, please make it stop.
Yes.
I don't give a damn where Brandon Aiyuk plays football next year because Brandon Aiyuk is a terrific player.
Forks up.
But forks us, right?
Mm-hmm.
But let's be real about this. The way this whole thing is talked about is so dumb. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I've already seen the stories. Like, well, if he goes to Pittsburgh, are they a Super Bowl contender? Is he playing quarterback? Is he dropped back and thrown to himself? Because I got to tell you, if he's not, they're not a Super Bowl contender.
Right, yeah.
And if he stays with the Niners, then the Niners are who they were a year ago, and fine. We know they're a great team. It's not that it's not an impactful trade. He's a very good football player, but the way it's talked about is just ridiculous. It's just weird, like, I'll tell you what, if they get him, it's like, okay, and if the Steelers get him, what? If the Browns get him, what? Deshaun Watson is another guy to miss throws to by 5 feet? Like, what does it matter? You know? And the Niners, this whole idea that they're going to get a draft pick and the player, then why the hell would you trade for him? What is the point? Like, I've seen people like, well, the Browns would give up, a second rounder and Amari Cooper. It's like, why? Like, what are you doing? And you're going to give up a really good receiver and the pick so you can get a receiver to replace Amari Cooper and then pay him $35 million a year?
Yeah.
Like, why would anyone do that? That's insane. I think the Niners are playing a game of hardball. I also think the Niners are kind of trying to use the Steelers here to find out what is the right number on a contract and then just go from there. They could trade him, but I just think if you're the 49ers too, you cannot pay everyone. Right. You're going to lose some guys. Now, I'm not saying they can't pay Aiyuk. Maybe they pay Aiyuk and they trade Debo next year or something. But, like, you just got to make a decision. Like, what are you doing? And that is, to me, the biggest, I don't know if I want to say failure, but, like, concern I have with the way the Niners have handled this. Like, do you guys have an idea of what's going on, like, long-term here?
Right.
It's just very bizarre. Like, if you want to just keep him long-term, just keep him. Pay him. But it's almost like they can't figure out who they want to keep and what they want to do, And, like, you're going to have to make decisions. Travarius Ward's free agent after this year.
It's true.
Lafunga is coming up here in the next few years, as is Warner for another contract. Brock Purdy is eligible for an extension after this season. Let me tell you.
$60 million.
Yeah, you better believe it's going to be $60 million. Like, I've seen people say, well, I wouldn't give him $60 million. Great. Well, then he's not going to be out of the 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're going to have to pay him. Kittle, this is a team that they're going to have to make a decision. They're going to have to make a decision. And at some point, not everybody's staying. So I'll be curious to see how it shakes out. The Brandon Aiyuk thing has gotten to an absolute insane point.
It has. And going back to the Cleveland Browns, I'm putting my flag in the ground, Baker Mayfield style, that Jameis Winston will be the quarterback of that team by week 10.
It's not a bad one, man. It's not a bad one.
Did you see his speech before the preseason game?
No.
I love that, man.
I really like the one thing I'm not opposed to that thought process by you. I do wonder here with the Browns, like, try how to word this. What would it take for them to go, we're done with this? We're done with Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
Like, he was suspended as expected when he first got there. He came in, he played like crap. I know they were 5-1 in his starts last year. That was in spite of him. He was terrible in those games. Yeah. I watched every snap of his games last year. He was awful. If you want to know who doesn't know ball, ask him how he played and how Russell Wilson played last year. And if somebody starts telling you, like, well, the 5-1 in Cleveland, and if you look at Russ, he had 26 touchdowns and 8 picks, go watch the games. Okay. The Broncos willfully ate $85 million to get rid of Russell Wilson. The Browns were the most hopeful they've ever been when Watson went out the year with a shoulder injury and Joe Flacco came riding into town, who, by the way, I'm going to see today in Indianapolis, like, came riding into town. And the Colts was just, or the Colts, the Browns were like, oh my God, like, we get to throw the football. I wonder this year, like, let's say they're halfway through the schedule. I'm not looking at their slate, but let's say they're like,
I got it.
Orange field. But the thing that's holding them back, like, is they can't throw. They're running the ball well. They're playing great defense.
Yeah.
I wonder if Stefanski would have A, the blessing from ownership, and B, the brass ones to just go, you know what, sit down. I'm done. I can't watch this shit anymore. Just go sit down. We're going to eat whatever, again, godly amount of money that they still own, which I can't even remember at this point. He is owed $63.7 million this year, next year, the year after that. And they can't cut him because all of it's dead money. Or, it's all of it's dead money because it's fully guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
I do wonder if there's a world with them, if he really stinks this year and he's clearly holding the entire team back, if he's about to be the most expensive backup quarterback in NFL history.
I mean, I don't think it's out of the question. That roster is a fantasy team, right? When you look at it, like they've got a lot of great players on that team. Like it's probably a top 5 roster, just like on paper. Like their roster, they've got dudes on that team.
Yeah, they do.
But as you mentioned, the quarterback spot is what's holding them back. So like this is his best opportunity. And like if they do start, as you mentioned, 4-4, they start with Dallas, Jacksonville, New York, as in the Giants, Vegas. That's their first 4, and then they go Washington, Philly, Cincy, Baltimore. That's their first 8. So like Cincy, Baltimore back to back, not a fun one.
Right. 5-3. If they have good quarterback play, like 5-3.
Yeah. If they do, yeah. Because like I could see Philadelphia. That's probably going to be a lot. Like that's just at Philly, but you get both Cincy and Baltimore at home. But like still the stretch of Philly, Cincy, Baltimore, not a fun stretch. Could easily lose all 3 of those games. Should beat Jacksonville on paper. Should beat the Giants on paper. Should beat Vegas.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Washington probably. Well,
he's so bad. I mean, he really is holding them back as much as any quarterback is holding back the rest of the roster in the NFL. I mean, on paper, they're better than Pittsburgh is. I mean, there's no arguing it. Like, they had a top 10 quarterback on that team. I mean, say whatever you want. If the Browns had Dak Prescott on that team, people would go to the Super Bowl. Now, they may not go, but like, there would be people who would be like, that's Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But the problem is you can't get rid of him. And not only is he radioactive from a PR and human being standpoint, but like that contract, that is the worst contract in professional sports.
Oh, yeah. The Mets would take the Bobby Bonilla deal over this one.
Oh, my God. The Mets would put Bobby Bonilla 4th in the lineup right now. I mean, bro, this contract, it's the only fully guaranteed NFL contract of that size ever. Like, not even close. And, look, let's put it this way. I don't exactly have pity for Cleveland. Like, hey, guys, you did it to yourselves. And people forget, I was in Indianapolis when all this was going on. I was at the Combine. There was a full-blown bidding war for Deshaun Watson. Despite, I mean, it was one of the most grotesque 48 hours in NFL history.
It's like Atlanta was in there too, right?
Atlanta was in there. New Orleans was in there. And Carolina was in there. All the whole damn division except for Tampa because they had Brady.
That Brady, yeah.
Everybody was in on it. And then it was like leaked out. I remember this like it was yesterday. We were all there. Baker puts out his like farewell letter to the Browns and the Cleveland fans. And then it gets leaked that the Browns are out. Like Watson was out on the Browns. And everybody was like, oh my God, like, what are they going to do? And then Jimmy Haslam was like, I know what we can do. We can guarantee this guy $230 million. That's what we can do. And then all of a sudden, Deshaun's like, I love Cleveland. And here we are, right? Like that's what happened. That's what happened. And it's the worst contract in NFL history. Like, it's a ridiculous amount of money. They can't move them. They can't get off the contract. They deserve what they get. And now they're stuck because I totally agree with you. If they had, I'm trying to think of another AFC quarterback. If they had
Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah. Like, you'd be like the team won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I'll give you one, although not the right weather system for him. Two.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah.
The weather's a problem.
Weather is a problem, yeah.
Weather's a problem. If the Browns were in that dome they're about to build, though.
$2.6 billion.
Two would be rolling. Two would be... By the way, what a fucking disgrace that is to build a dome in Cleveland.
Yeah, that's kind of...
My God, man. That's like when people argue, like, the Chiefs get a new stadium, it should be a dome. I will throw up.
I don't think it should be a dome. I also...
Come on with this. You're in Kansas City. That's such an embarrassment. Like, it's like the Vikings, the stupid dome stadiums they've had for the last 30 years. How's that been going? What's your advantage?
You got the whole Super Bowl, though. Yeah, you haven't been to one.
Yeah, you never. It's like, can you imagine? Like, okay, if you're the Dolphins, right now, the Bills are in the process of building a new stadium. It's no dome. Fans are covered. Field isn't. Yeah. You know how much the Dolphins were? The Dolphins would have paid the Bills to make that a dome. Okay, like the Dolphins are like, please God, make it a dome. Mike McDaniel is taking up, like, they're passing the hat to make Arrowhead a dome stadium.
Right, yes.
Okay. You want the advantage. Right. It's an advantage to play outside. If you're the Chiefs, if you're the Vikings, it's like a Lambeau having a dome over it. Like, that's
blasphemy.
That's ridiculous. You take the advantage. You know, a team like the Rams going to Lambeau in the playoffs, they're like, oh my God, we got to go up there. The Rams would pay Green Bay to throw a retractable roof over that bad boy. Okay? Like, you take the advantage that you have. Take the advantage. Domes are a terrible thing. They're terrible in all sports. I am anti-dome to the hill.
Patrick Mahomes has never lost a football game in a dome. He has lost 1 or 2 retractable roof games. I can't remember off the top of my head. But Patrick Mahomes legitimately never lost a football game in a dome. Which is
my argument. I mean, it is fair.
Amazing stat.
I just feel like in the playoffs, like, has he ever played a dome playoff game? I mean, the Super Bowl. No, it couldn't have, because the only road games he's ever played are Buffalo and Baltimore.
Right. Yeah. So,
right. I mean, and obviously the Super Bowls, 2 of them are in domes.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Arizona and Vegas. Yeah.
I wonder how much of that has to do with the fact that the dome teams he's played have been like the Raiders.
You know what? That probably has a lot to, because the retractable roof loss he has is against the Colts, right? Because, that game was, we could do a whole podcast about how that
For a few games in my life, I literally sat there for 10 minutes after it. I didn't even know how to react.
It's
like, I was at Fanside at the time. We had to do a podcast. We had to do the Arrowhead podcast. Like my co-host, Patrick Allen, was like, you ready to go? I was like, no. Like, I don't even know how to describe what the hell just happened in that football game. Yeah.
I got to look up these stats. His splits, I remember I was looking it up because he was obviously playing in Vegas for the Super Bowl. So I was like, wow, look up his splits on Pro Football Reference to see how he's done in domes. Never lost. Honestly, quite incredible.
I can tell you right now, here, I got it for you.
Okay.
In a dome, he is 10-0.
There you go.
He has completed 66% of his passes, which is, by the way, the exact same thing he's done outdoors. He averages 314 passing yards per game. Outdoors, he averages 294. He has thrown, in 10 games, 23 touchdowns to 2 picks. He rushes for 25 yards a game. Outdoors, he's 19. Yards per attempt, he's 7.62 in domes, 7.96 outside. Here's a very odd stat. Has nothing to do with the indoors or outdoors, but the split is the split. 0 rushing touchdowns in the dome. 11 outside.
He's a dog when he gets outside. He's
right.
He got those for the
10-0 in dome stadiums, 61-21 outdoors. So, not bad just in general, but yeah, I never understand these calls by the teams like slap a dome on it. Like, what? Yeah. Oh my God, why? Why would you do that? Like, I don't know. Just don't get it. But, maybe Mahomes would be like, hey, Verderame, shut up. We'll take a dome.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Look, the Chiefs got plenty of time to decide what they're going to do with the stadium. I think they should just keep it. Maybe tear down the old Arrowhead, right? But build a bigger one. When the Royals leave, bulldoze that, and then just build a giant coliseum and call it Arrowhead 2. I don't know if that'll go over very well, but just building it huge. I think you understand what I'm saying. But just a ginormous stadium, not domed.
Look, by the way, as we're recording this, Jordan Addison just got carted off.
Dude, Minnesota's having the worst month of all time.
It's insane. If I'm the Chiefs everybody's gone from like these huge, like 70,000 like seat stadiums to like smaller, more intimate venues because they also have, of course, like the boxes. So that's where they get the extra
money.
The Chiefs should go the other direction. The Chiefs should go with an 125,000 seat stadium where the noise is so unbelievably deafening. Like just build it straight up. You know,
it's a college stadium. Just make it a college stadium at that point.
Just make it so obnoxious that the NFL has to institute rules about sound in a stadium. Because it's like, look, it's 125,000 people, and it curves over the field. It is just 125,000 people just screaming right at the top of the quarterback.
I love it. I think I'm all for it. It fit Kansas City so perfectly, and that's what you want of a stadium. Is you want a representation of the city and the fans that it represents, and I think that is a perfect way to do it. I think that's a perfect way, also.
I would almost point. Yeah, we can, but I would point to like Fenway when they renovated Fenway years ago, right? Like I remember they were like, "We're going to tear down Fenway and build it somewhere else." Fenway Park, like
no,
not
Wrigley. You're not going to do
that. And to their credit, they were like, "Look, let's put seats behind the monster, and have the coolest seats in baseball, and then let's build like a party deck in like the right field corner, but do it tastefully." And like that stadium's awesome. I went there. I actually saw the Royals there a couple of years ago.
Oh, nice.
I was sat right next to pesky pole, and Whit Merrifield hit a homer that landed like 8 feet away from me, and I'm still pissed I didn't catch it. I should have. There was like a child between me and the guy who caught it, and I should have just trucked that kid, but I didn't have the heart to do it. So
Michael Jordan meme, you know.
Yeah, drunken McDrunker caught the ball and was celebrating. But all I remember about the game was it was 103 degrees. And I sat next to a guy who happened to tell me in like the 5th inning, he's like, "Yeah, I used to come to these games with my son." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, like you move out of town?" He's like, "No, he's in prison." And I was like, "Oh, yeah? Like getting out soon?" He's like, "Nah, killed the guy." I was like, "Oh.
Nice.
All right." I didn't know what to say. I was like, all right, then enjoy the game. But yeah, so
insane.
The Chiefs, like, look, just like renovate Arrowhead, add 40,000 seats to it, and let's party. Like, hey, look, maybe then Clark can put air conditioning in the practice bubble or whatever the hell.
There we go.
NFL PA rating goes up, right?
They build Arrowhead 2 in a brand new practice facility. That's my pitch. Look, Clark, I'm sure knows how to reach me.
I'm sure he can hold me. Yes,
I'm sure he can get a hold of me. I'll be on the marketing team for it if you need me to. We can sell this. I think we can pitch this one. I think this is a good pitch that we can sell here.
Yeah, all you need to do is have Mahomes and Kelsey just play cash outside the stadium, and people will just dump money in like flatbed trucks. The Clark on. Here you go, man. Whatever you need.
It's perfect. All right, that's going to do it for this week's edition of That Football Show. Appreciate you guys listening in all the way until the very end of this podcast. We do love it when you leave a 5-star rating and review and let us know how you enjoyed it. If you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe to KC Sports Network. We've got a ton of stuff for you. We'll obviously have a post-game show following the Chiefs and Lions game. Grind doesn't stop for us. It might be the preseason. Look, we got to work the kinks out too here at KC Sports Network for the post-game show. So we gotta be on our post-game grind as well as the Chiefs on their pre-game grind, or on their preseason grind, I should say. But that's going to do it for Matt and I. We'll be back next week. Normal practice for me by the time we'll be convening next week. We'll probably be at our normal time, I would assume. So hopefully this is hitting your ears and you're enjoying every second. Make sure to leave a 5-star rating and review, and we will talk to you guys next week.